things cause a bit of a power blackout in the area, get out there and run a few poles down and have your batteries on standby so you can have 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes of fun, and then when it's all over, report, oh, we've got a blackout in the area. That'd fix them. Circuit breakers off, you won't know. It'll take her an hour or so to get it sorted. Shouldn't be saying that's a horrible thing to say. Alright, we're on the side just listening and looking, and we'll just take note of what's happening around us from VK3IE.
From JKE, yeah, a bit of a while. It 10 o'clock to transfer investors, so got to rev things up there, haven't they? But yeah, I'm just praying that I don't get any interference leaving, because that'll obliterate it totally and I won't receive it. But we'll see.
Hello and welcome to Grinderton radio station and to this anniversary transmission with the Alexanderson alternator SAQ from 1924.
very, very
reach
easy, I must admit.
close to 30 degrees, or maybe even more. In this hall today, we have beautiful day. We will reach temperatures close to 30 degrees, or maybe even more. In this hall today, we have visitors from the whole world. A lot of local people who may have worked at the station here, but also people who are interested in this place, coming from other countries around the world. And we are welcoming everybody. Outside the station, we can also see our station car. Outside the station, we can also see our station car. So, just today, 100 years ago, on July 2nd, 1925, this station was inaugurated. Although radio traffic had already begun on December 1st, the year before, now it was time for the official ceremony. On the screen you can see how it looked like here. We had our king, Gustav V, coming here. We had the inventor of this fantastic 200 kilowatt generator and its massive multiple antenna, Dr. Ernst Frederick Werner Alexanderson, here. And the head of Radio Corporation of America, Mr. David Sarnoff, were here, together with several other prominent guests. The large and shiny Alexanderson alternator was put to life, and a message composed by the king was transmitted over to Long Island, New York, USA, and to the American president, Calvin Coolidge. President Calvin Coolidge. And the message was received, and after a while he replied that the new radio station installations will be crucial for the relations between Sweden and the USA. So this began an era of communication from Grimeton radio station to the United States, but also to many other parts of the world for many decades. And despite this incredible technology development at the station, the old Alexanderson alternator was left and was kept in working order by the station's employees. Today, this is the only remaining electromechanical transmitter in the entire world, and it's working. So now, when we stand here 100 years after the inauguration, it is with great respect for the history and for this place, and we are very grateful to be part of all this. And to mark the day, we have a very special message from UNESCO's Director General, Audrey Azoulay, which we will try to spread to the world on the frequency 17.2 kilohertz at 11 o'clock. So before we start the transmitter, I would like to express my thanks to all the people who in some way contribute to this anniversary. It's a lot of people, I can tell you. Without you, this would never be possible. So thank you very much. And now it's time to start the transmitter. We have done some preparations. Yesterday we did some tests. This morning we have checked all the lubrication places. We have connected the machine to the power supply. This machine uses 2,300 volts to operate. So we have a separate transformer building where 50 kilovolt will be transformed into 2,300 volts And not only that, we convert the 3 phases down to 2 phases. Because when this machine was designed, the 2-phase electrical system was the common electrical power supply in Northeast America. So we've done all those preparations. We hooked up to the line. So now we are ready to start the machine. And when we do that, I ask Jan-Åke, my operator, to go down to the emergency stop. And I will also like to inform everybody about, in case of any emergency, let's hope not, we have several emergency exits, 1 in each direction. And with that, I would like to go down to the operator panel. We can immediately hear that we have an alarm. And my operator is finding his way back to switch off. And I have eye contact with Jan-Åke. And now we put the machine to life. We can immediately hear that we have an alarm. And my operator is finding his way back to switch off the alarm temporarily. The alarm is telling us that we have no water cooling and no oil pressure. So let's begin with turning on the water cooling system. We have 2 water pumps used for cooling. One is in use at a time, and the other one is a backup. Let's do number 1. Take number 1. First thing we have to do is to fill it up with water. It's a centrifugal pump, and its housing has to be completely filled up with water. We have our own well in our basement where we get this water from. And here we look and we listen for any air and water coming out. And now the pump is running. We have to open up the valve to the circulation. And then Jan-Åke will start up the pump. Outside the building, underground, cooling basin where we get the water from. And this water is pumped through all the devices that need cooling and back to a second basin. And from that second basin, water is cooling and flowing. The circulation system. We have a closed loop cooling system. Outside the building, underground, we have a cooling basin where we get the water from. And this water is pumped through all the devices that needs cooling and back to a second basin. And from that second basin, water is cooling and flowing over to the first basin, so it's recirculated. Yep. Det låter bra. And on the wall there is a gauge that will show us the pressure in the cooling system, and it says 2 bar, 30 psi, which is fine. Excellent. Pump is running. We are walking by 3 large water tanks. Those are resistors used for speed control. And we check that we have enough water. Yep. And now the next step for Jan-Åke will be to turn on the circulation pumps in the 2 resistors we will be using. And he will do that by putting 2 small wooden blocks into the contactors. But there is 400 volts there, so we use protective gloves. I think it's a wise decision. We will close the door again and walk back to the operator panel. And Jan-Åke will put the switch back in its correct position. And then the alarm now is telling us that we have no oil pressure. And to solve that problem, we have an auxiliary oil pump on the generator. And when that oil pump is running, the oil pressure to the generator is sufficient. And now Jan-Åke can walk down to the emergency switch. And now I will start the main drive motor. And we can now see that it slowly starts to rotate. I will monitor the amperage gauge here. And I see that we are almost bottoming out, but 145 amps and 1,300 volts. So lots of energy going into that motor right now. And it's increasing in speed rather quickly. The generator has a built-in oil pump that soon will be able to deliver enough oil pressure. And by that, we will have an alarm telling us that the oil pressure will be too high. So we are just below 300 RPM. Our target is 711.3. Amperage is going down. We're already down to 110 amps about. So when the motor is up to speed, 711.3 turns per minute, the generator will rotate with 2,115 turns per minute, or 35.25 turns a second. It's an incredible speed, but it's necessary for the generator to generate a radio wave that we need to transmit the message over to America. Ja. Här kom det. Nej, det är bara att stänga av. Det är perfekt. Oljan är varm. Next step, Jan-Åke here. Next step is to wait until we come down to 80 amperage. And reason why we are waiting so long is that we don't want to shock this old machine. It's the only one in the world, and we don't want to break it. So now we have reached 80. Jan-Åke will start up two DC rectifiers, one for 500 volts and another one for 125 and 250 volts. And I will explain later what we are using those generators for. Now it's time to magnetize the 500 volt generator. That means that the transductors restricting the voltage will all of a sudden let all the energy through. So when you do that, Jan-Åke, we can see that the voltage here increases by 1,000 volts instantly. And the people here in the transmitter hall, you can hear and you can feel that the motor now has a lot more energy. And the speed is increasing even faster. We are at 550 RPMs. And now Jan-Åke will operate the start resistor. The start resistor is connected to the drive motor's rotor, and by lowering the resistance in the resistor, we gain a lot more torque in the motor, and the torque we need to get up to speed. And he will also operate the compensation resistor. The compensation resistor is connected to the drive motor rotor when the Morse key is pushed down. So this machine can only be transmitting Morse code, no speech or so. So Morse code is the only thing we can transmit. And I think it's time for Jan-Åke to magnetize the generator. Now we have an electrical flux, a changing magnetic field inside the generator. On the frequency counter, you can still see that the frequency is way too low because the speed of the drive motor is still not 711. So Jan-Åke, he will work on getting to the right frequency at key up of the Morse key. And we mainly do that by monitoring the voltage to the drive motor. We should be at 2000 volts or slightly below that. That will be optimal. Lite tryck till, va? And now we can see that the meters here are starting to work. That means that a built-in speed control system is trying to take over. But we are still a bit too far away for it to work properly. So we have to help it to come to the correct point. And I think Jan-Åke is spot on. That's perfect. Next thing would be to turn on a large air blower, an air blower that will blow a lot of air onto contactors used for speed control, because the amount of power on those contactors is so great that they will instantly burn together without any cooling. And if you think that the noise now is loud, it will be a lot louder when we have the air cooling running in a couple of seconds. So we are still not out in the air. No one can hear us yet, but we are very soon coming to a point where all the listeners can hear us. And we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of listeners sitting all over the world, no matter what time of the day it is, to try to hear SAQ. So to many listeners, this is a great event, as great as it is for us to hear SAQ. Yeah. Now it's time for us to connect the transmitter to the antenna. And Jan-Åke will do that by operating a motor-driven night switch. Yep, and then that switch is engaged. And now we can test the Morse key if the machine is reacting. And now we are going out in the air. The amount of power to the antenna can be up to 200,000 watts, 200 kilowatts. However, this is an old lady. We don't want to... den är ju inte jättehög. Nej, jag kan inte se det. Det kanske tar sig lite. Ja, ja den är kanon. Ja. We see that the antenna current may not be at its peak, really. It's really hard to see on this dial because it's logarithmic. But compared to yesterday, we're slightly lower. We will let it warm up for a couple of minutes, and then we'll see if we can improve. So I will take all the viewers on YouTube out for a short walk. And the people here in the transmitter hall, you can stay in here and you can watch me on the screen. It's really nice and warm outside. As you can see, there are lots of people now eating ice cream, enjoying their visit to the radio station. It's a beautiful day, even though it's some small clouds right now, which makes the temperature really nice. Behind me you can see a cooling pond with some fountains spraying water. This cooling pond used to be a part of the Saq cooling system when it was run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Nowadays we only run the machine for maximum 1 hour or slightly longer, but a part of the cooling system, but we like to display it like this, so it's a beautiful piece. And on my other side, behind me, you can see the massive antenna, also a design by Dr. Alexanderson. It's a so-called multiple antenna, which means that all the 6 towers together makes up one antenna. Each tower has an efficiency of about 2%. Meaning that 98% of the energy arriving to the antenna will turn into heat. But 2% times 6 makes 12. So 100 years ago, this was an extraordinary achievement to reach as high as 12 or even 14%. The second best antenna was from Marconi. His efficiency was at 2%. And this antenna is also very narrow in its bandwidth. We have a plus minus 40 hertz bandwidth, and then we have plus minus 10% in accuracy or instability. So plus minus 50 in total, which is very narrow compared to the transmitters 100 years ago. The distance from the first tower to the last tower is 2.2 kilometers, almost a mile. And we used to make fun of this a little bit, that it's a rather small antenna, because for its wavelength, which is 17,440 meters, it's a really small antenna. It's not even an eighth. A standard for an antenna would be a quarter of a wavelength. But Alexanderson, he solved that by introducing tunable coils at each downlead to kind of transform the antenna electrically into a quarter wave antenna. And further to the right, you can see one of the tuning coils that goes up to tower number 1. So by that, I think we go back in again. And we are back in again. Är vi nöjda? Ja, ska vi testa lite? Ja, då får du köra med den. Hålla inne den. Nej. Ja, du får stänga av den. Ja, vi är nöjda. We are looking at the power and we realize that we are happy. It looks the same as yesterday, so let's not change anything that is working. So a transmission with SAQ over the antenna is a very rare occasion. We do this maximum 2 times a year. Sometimes not at all over a year. And to get out into the air, it's a lot of work, a lot of people involved to get all the technology working. Our listeners are all over the world. We have normally more than 500 replies to us from listeners telling us if they heard us or if they didn't hear us. Many times with images, drawings, video clips from when they received it. And it's a fantastic reward for us who have been working with all this to get all those confirmations back and with nice words and greetings. So we are a non-profit voluntary organization that we are responsible for keeping this machine in operational condition. And we do this with several people's efforts and money from all our members. We are about 800 members. Membership fee is roughly 10 euros, 12 euros. So anyone who would like to become a member should go to our website, alexander.n, as in November, .se, and apply for membership. And you are helping us to keep this fantastic machine alive. So I'm looking at the time, and we are still 5 minutes to the transmission, so that is good. And as the message now is transmitted to the world, you can actually see the characters that he is producing. And those characters are picked up by a radio receiver inside this room and converted into characters and put onto the screen. Very nice. Thank you very much, Kai. Perfectly transmitted message. A very nice message you can see on the screen from UNESCO Director General Audrey Azoulay. So thank you very much for your kind message. Beautiful. And that concludes our transmission today. We have been able to reach across the world. We have seen comments from listeners already from all over the world. So it seems like it was a good transmission. And that means it's now time for us to switch off the transmitter. And I will go over to my operator. And the first thing Jan-Åke will do would be to remove the field current to the generator. Now we have no longer any radio wave created. And the next thing is to switch off the field current for the 500 volt generator. Yep. And then we will stop the drive motor. I can do that from over here. There is a 0 voltage release that I will open. And the switch is opening. Now there is no power anymore to the motor. But it will take some 9 minutes for it to come to a complete stop because it's such a great mass turning. And Jan-Åke is down to the blower, the air blower, and switch that off as well. I will stay here and watch. We are at 600 RPM. At some point in time, the oil pressure will be too low, which will result in an alarm and in a lamp, a signal lamp here, which means that we have to switch on the auxiliary oil pump again. As well, I will stay here and watch. We are at 6. There we are. The oil pump is on. RPM. At some point in time, the oil pressure will be too low, which will result in an alarm and in a lamp, a signal lamp here, which means that we have to switch on the auxiliary oil pump again. There we are. The oil pump is on.